record on this computer. We are now recording. All right, this is your reminder. If you haven't gone to USA Rugby and renewed your membership, we need to get that done. I'll probably go in here and start checking them at the end of this week. So week 3, I can't believe week 3 is here and gone already. It's amazing, it's flying by. Really good scores this week. This is what the league likes to see when we get those 50-point scores. We're doing something right with the refereeing, you know. Let's see. What is important? Life West, of course, at the top of the league. Here we can see Harlequins moved into first at the East Conference. About it. Feedback, thanks to everybody who is making post-call feedback with my little survey. I'm really happy with it, and we're getting some really great things in. So just a reminder going into this call, I think piecing some stuff together from some of the little bits that we got, we should be aware of the language that we're using, specifically the coaches, maybe try not to use real judgmental language when we are talking about a situation. So let's try to have conversation without, I think this is wrong. Thoughts for week 3 from me. I'm getting a little bit of weird feedback. Is anybody else getting that?
You can hear it.
Okay. If everybody can maybe mute themselves, that might help. Thoughts from week 3. When we are clearing the tackler from the breakdown, we're really getting quick ball. It's great. I think what we need to be aware of is when we are managing, then we are getting slow ball. And so we need to look across the course of a match and be aware of where we're requiring the tackler to clear out and when we're trying to manage, and just look at if that makes sense across the story of our match. Does that make sense to everybody? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Line, go ahead, Peter.
You told everybody to mute, so you're not going to get any responses.
Okay, well, you have to unmute to respond. You just have to click the button, right? It's not too hard. The line out looks a little bit better this week. I will just let you guys know I had a long conversation with Rob Kane at the end of last week about the line out, what we are trying to achieve, and what the national team is trying to achieve. He understands our concerns. He understands that what they are doing right now does not match what, say, we see from the All Blacks or like South Africa or a team like England. But he says this is basically a step on the road to where they're trying to get to. It was an interesting conversation because I was like, if you can't throw the ball in straight, why are we trying to walk into the line out? And he was like, well, this is where we want to be. We're not there yet. So based on that discussion, we're going to meet up this week and have another discussion just to sort of make sure we think we're all doing the right things. The lineouts looked better from my perspective of the way the referees are setting up the lineouts. They looked better. I think we probably had less lineouts completed this week. Haley's match was a great example. Just not straights and all kinds of stuff going on. And I don't think that was a result of us asking them to be in the lineout. So anybody have lineout comments, or we're pretty good there? We don't need to discuss them this week. The scrum, I will say, we've got to recognize those dangerous scrums. So the ones where one team is clearly driving up and the other team gets that dangerous neck position where the back goes hunched and the feet start to come off the ground. We're still having those. We got to ping the first one we see. The other thing, this comes directly from Rob. If we can clearly communicate our expectations to the props, it will help them greatly. So what he's saying is sometimes they get penalties and they don't really know what it's for. Sometimes we give penalties and we don't signal well because we are not confident. So I would say if we use those key indicators that we have and we can communicate that directly to the props, you know, they're listening and they want to do better. So we are all working together to get a certain product. And that's the attitude that everybody has. So let's use that to our advantage. Speaking of advantage, when we are using it as a whole, as a group, we still, I think, in our coaching sessions and with our coaches, we need to examine every single time we use advantage. And we need to say, did this advantage help the momentum of the match? Was there forward movement? Or was this really an opportunity for me to set standards? So the advantage is really a balance of those two things. And I'm not sure that we're hitting it right now. Movement and positioning. I am concerned when we do get quick ball, occasionally the referee is in the way. So those are things that you need to be tagging when you're doing your match review. I'm not really seeing much of that right now. And you need to think about why you're there, where else you could be, or how else you could move so that you're not interfering with that ball coming out. Okay, that's all from me. Does anybody have anything with that they need me to go over? Pretty happy? Okay. Let's go to advantage. Who wants to be first this week? Haley Slaughter?
Sure, here I am.
Yay! No, there you are, far, far away.
Yeah, so it's just kind of worked out, I guess.
Yeah, for everyone who doesn't know, Haley is in California for the entire week because of the weather.
Good old Dorian.
Anything you want to tell us about your match or your stats or?
So it was a really intense game, which I expected. There was less foul, not that I expected it to be dirty game, but I just expected it to be, you know, it's the two best teams in the Bay Area. This is the first time that they've played within the WPL. So I knew that was meaningful for both of them. It was nice and quick. Berkeley contested nearly every breakdown. And so we were getting quick ball, but there were times when there was a legitimate contest. I have to allow a fair contest. And I mean, they get cleaned out. Like Life West, their support was just a tad bit late sometimes, and their ball carriers were getting isolated. But for the most part, we had really quick ball, and it was a really super exciting game. So I had issues at the scrum, and I felt like I had issues with advantage a couple of times. I mean, you could look at it one way or the other, but for me, it was a good game. But obviously, I have my points that I could say where I could have done better. But
can you tell us about this with the scrums you're working on? Solve issues ASAP, sis.
Yeah, sort it sooner. So that's the whole idea, and it's really hard to get out of the habit of just being happy the ball's out and being eager to play on. And I think that's part of my problem, is that I'm just so eager to play on all the time. Like if the ball is out, but I mean, I was telling myself, like, if it's crappy ball, let's blow it up. If something's obvious, let's blow it up. Let's make sure to award legal dominance. And there was one time where the scrum went down, but like it was on the other side, obviously, and I just reset because I didn't want to guess.
Right.
But that should have been a penalty. And it's I mean, it was, you know, it was a challenging game for. I think physically it would have challenged anyone. I ran like 4.14 miles or something in this game, so it was really good. It was, at the end of the day, it was a really good game, and I felt kind of bad about it, but I felt better after watching the the film again, because it's just a good for the spectators, like, you know, fun for well, I don't know, it was fun for the players, but it was intense for them.
Oh, the game
And
was so exciting. I cheered out loud
yeah,
4 or 5
yeah,
times.
yeah,
It was a great product. So
yeah. So let's look at the clips. I have a
first.
celebrate success one. The good
The
AR
AR.
flag.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want me to play it, or you want to intro it?
Um so at this point right here we're playing penalty advantage to Berkeley for a ruck offside, and I get a flag and it's against an all blues player. So you can start to play it, and then I clipped it
Let
all the
me
way to the end.
let me turn the commentators off.
So here it comes. So I thought it was good because our conversation was really short,
Mm-hmm.
and he stayed with me and he made sure that we got the right player. So he's like, no, 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 it was number 8. I don't know if he was just looking for a ponytail person, but yeah, I just explained like, yeah, we were playing advantage offside, but foul play trumps everything, so we have to go back for this dangerous clean out that he saw, and she knew what I was talking about. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was fine. So I try to it's a neck roll kind of thing. So this is my I'm trying to make some kind of secondary signal there. So yeah, sub comes on, and then blow time back on and do the
Yep.
yeah. So it was just it was pretty fluid, and everybody, you know, pretty much when they saw that he was flagging it,
There it is.
they knew that it had to do with foul play. So yeah,
Yep.
and it was over the shoulder. So I mean, she did have her hand on her neck, like, but it
Mm-hmm.
was from the back. So I was happy that he recommended penalty only.
Yep. Yeah, I
So
definitely feel like it's penalty only, but it's a good
yeah,
catch.
yeah. And so yeah, and I put there. I was like, maybe I was too close. Maybe I was probably scanning. I might have been kind of ball focused, but good on him. It was really good. Good piece of ARing.
Good job.
Yeah. And let's look at contriving penalties at the breakdown. So this is Life West is where I think her name's Jen. She's wearing number 12, but she usually plays number 8, or I'm used to her playing number 8.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just play it, you'll see her trying to make it look like she can't get the ball out.
Yep.
So this was the 81st minute, and I had already told them that it was full time, and they kept, trying to play. But I wasn't going to penalize anything at this point of the game unless it was ridiculous. But I just told her, just get the ball out. You've got it. You have 2 hands on the ball and you're just rubbing it against her belly. Like, get the ball out. So everybody be aware of that. Is it should be pretty obvious if they're trying to do something like that.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah. And then I had a loitering by the ruck obstruction thing that we were looking at. So this is a really good example.
Did you recognize this in the game, or did this come up in review?
I sort of recognized it in the game, and then I looked at the Life West players and thought that it wasn't. This is in the comment section of the report, but I thought, oh, they're already set for defense. They're not really paying attention to her. But then upon review, it's like, that's totally liable. She's definitely liable for penalty, just like they're loitering kind of in an offside position. But I mean, I don't know how long they expect the ball to have to come out for. So number 8 is just kind of standing there.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think anybody would have argued if I had penalized her there. And they did end up scoring a couple phases later, so it's something to think about. But that's what that looks like, and that's what we don't want.
Other referees on the call, thoughts about this one?
I saw this when I was watching your game, Haley. Oh, hey, it's Kat. I saw this when I was watching your game, and I was thinking maybe a scrum to Life West for like an accidental, because I mean she is doing her job well, and she just kind of gets stuck there. Really, anything like where is she supposed to go?
Yeah, that was
Like,
kind of my thinking at the
over
time
the
as well.
rock and be like, woohoo, nailed it. Not in the way. But I mean, I could totally, I probably would have played on here, but also could see a scrum. It just would have sucked having such great play, and then you're like, you did something stupid, and you guys were about to score.
Exactly. Yeah.
I probably like in the game would have done the same thing as you, but no, I would have definitely just played on. But I feel like maybe a scrum.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
that's fair.
yeah, it comes down to, do we think they gained an advantage?
See,
Anybody
no,
else?
they were probably going to do the same exact thing they did, right?
Yeah, that was kind of my thinking as well.
Yeah.
And Life West had like already decided where they were going to put their defenders, so that's why I played on. So.
Just following on from that, I think it was 2 phases later, they scored.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think they gained an advantage from there. So yeah, a scrum for an accidental offside would probably have been a good call.
Yep, I'd be happy with the scrum.
Yeah. Right. So speaking of scrums, let's look at Lee's clips that he put up there, because I had a couple that should have been dealt with.
So I'll talk about this one before we play it. It's dangerous. There's no if or but about it. But also, following I think I picked it up from the reset, is look at the bind of the Life West tight head. She comes in initially with the full arm bind, then as the scrum is set, she's shortening her bind onto the arm of the All Blues loose head, which is giving the loose head difficulty in playing. She did this throughout a number of the scrums. There's a couple tagged on the playlist, and I looked at most of them, and she was doing it on most of the scrums. So anyone who's refereeing Life West over the next few weeks, we need to stamp this out with this player, because it is creating problems. You can play it, Amanda.
Yep. Sorry, I just remembered I got to turn that volume down or we'll all be eardrums blasted. Do you remember what you reset this one for, Haley?
To get the space right, probably.
Cool.
So on the first scrum, her bind was good, and then just watch her bind now, and then just the angle she comes in on as well.
Your hooker's in danger there.
You've got to blow that immediately, and in this instance, it wasn't a coming around by All Blues. It should have been a penalty to All Blues. It was dangerous.
Lee, it's Peter.
Hey,
Can you suggest clues that a referee could look for when they're on the opposite side of the scrum from that tight head?
you can see if you can see the body position of the tight head. If she's got a loose bind onto the hooker, the hips are going to come out, which is going to enable her to drive across and get in onto the hooker and lift the hooker up. It can be subtle, but you can see it because you see the body angle change. Another one you can see is if she slightly sinks her knees, literally only a couple of inches, they're going to drive up and across.
And I think that elbow coming up is
Yep.
Yeah, that's the big one. I mean, look for that bind.
I'm looking for easy clues that somebody on the far side can pick up.
The only thing you can see with it, it's difficult to see the bind. I mean, all you can look is the elbow coming up.
The other thing, and this is sort of a subtle clue, and I'm not sure how well you would be able to see it from the other side of the scrum, but when they come in and they switch that bind on the engage, you get like this wiggle, like it's like a sideways wiggle over there instead of the up and down movement that you normally have in a scrum.
Amanda, please.
What's that?
Can you run that one more time?
Yeah, you don't really see the wiggle in that one. But yeah, that upwards elbow, that's all you got here. But okay, everybody's paying attention, right? When you have Life West, you have to watch this 3. She does it every single scrum. And there's other ones where she gets her opponent really in a bind or a non-bind.
If you look in the playlist, there's one of the scrums, I think it's about 21 minutes in, Amanda, where she destabilizes a scrum by bringing her elbow in. It's just giving the loose head nowhere to go. They can't push.
Yep.
Later on in the game, what you see happening is you see Berkeley starting to stand up in the scrum because they can't take the pressure.
Yeah, and unfortunately, she starts with a long bind. So when we're doing our scan, everything looks good to us, and then she switches it when we're paying attention to something else. So
It occurs to me that that's also something you could ask an AR to keep an eye on.
absolutely.
You know, if you're reasonably close, within 15, 20 meters.
So I will put it out on my weekly communication to the coaches that we will be looking for a long bind and stability that comes from the long bind. So that won't help much, but at least it'll be there.
Yeah, I mean, you would be doing our country a favor because she's the starting tight head for the Eagles, as far as I know. So we should make her do it right before she goes off to the World Cup next year.
Cool. Good job.
A little tidbit is that she is actually uncomfortable at tight head and she plays loose head. So she's like, she's out of position. So she's going to be doing shit like that because she's uncomfortable.
No, that makes sense.
She's very subtle at it.
She figures if she messes up enough, they'll finally move her back.
Strategy. Is that all for you, Haley?
Yeah, I think so, unless Lee has anything to add.
No, I mean, it was an exciting game to watch. I enjoyed reviewing it again on the video. It literally was. You just have to watch this tight head. She's going to create problems. She's going to be creating problems, and it's coming back down to safety. I think Haley had a good game. A couple of things we need to look at, but generally, yeah, she did. It was good. It was great to see, and I think we're going to have a similar game this weekend on Treasure Island.
Cool. Thank you, guys. Who is next? Let's see. Michelle O'Brien, are you there?
I am.
All right. Next victim.
So my game, I had a couple of notes that I sent Rosalind right after, just my immediate thoughts after, is that I felt like the first 11 minutes, my focus was spot on. However, looking back at the game, it doesn't seem so much. But anyways, that's how I felt. And I had a pretty high penalty count. I think I was too quick on the whistle in the first half. Like I definitely one of the first releases. It was just too quick. It was very didn't let the ruck breathe at all, and so kind of painted myself in a corner for what Orsu was expecting the rest of the match. And I'll touch on that in a second, so hold that thought.
Okay.
I thought second half was a lot smoother. My ARs were great. They were very attentive. I had Ryan Curtis, if anybody worked with him over sevens in the summer. So that was pretty cool to have him. And then we had a young referee who's up and coming, and so he was helpful, which I need to rewatch one of the clips. He called in a yellow card, and so I need to rewatch that to see if I can even see it from the film. Let's see here. When you had the first screen up with the trends this week, I feel like I was a culprit of every single one of those.
That's
So
okay.
I had definitely had my scrums were actually pretty good, but I did have a couple that I didn't handle because the ball came out. And so two of them that were wheeled, I knew I didn't really do anything about. I just let it play on. But that was about it. Coming back to the expectations for Orsu. So Orsu kept asking me to have, they were like, San Diego's laying on the ball and we're trying to get quick ball. And per the penalty that I made in, the first 3 minutes, that's kind of what I gave the expectation to them. So second half, it got to the point where red scrum half was sitting on the ball so long that the ball would actually be out of the ruck. And so I had a conversation with them after that. And I said, here's what I'm seeing. I know what you're telling me, but what I'm seeing is that the ball is ready and you're not ready to play it yet. And so after the game, Orsu came up and thanked me for that open communication, but just a little thing for me to work on.
Which clip do you want to watch first?
We can go with the collision, and should I explain it? Like, should I explain my feeling first, or should we just watch it?
That's totally up to you.
Okay. Well, I guess I'll say it then. So
Okay.
my first instinct was, oh, they were both going for the ball and they collided. And then as you kind of see, I hesitate and blow the whistle for time off, because then I was like, wait, was there something more? I need to think about this. And so that's when I kind of go talk to Ryan and Jordan and see what they saw and kind of take some time to make a decision on it. It was definitely a hard hit. And if you want to slow it down, you
Yeah,
can.
I'll try. Let me see if I can get to the right spot.
Because I slowed it down, it's like literally both their arms are out. They're both expecting to get the ball, and they collide right where the ball is.
Mm-hmm.
Just so happens that then red is like knocked over and ended up getting subbed out. So when I talked to Ryan, he was like, definitely foul play. He's like, Blue was reckless coming into that. She's definitely at fault. And I was like, really? You think so? And then I kind of replayed it in my head and went with, well, red was in possession, and I guess blue did come in reckless. Like, I feel like you could justify it either way. So I don't know. What does everyone else think?
Yeah. Who wants to chime in?
It's Haley. I think when it comes to foul play, put it back on the players. Like, no guessing, no marginal, especially if you have an AR that's that convicted about, which way it should go. Like, no debate. Just, hey, it's foul play. If you're not sure, then go penalty only. But like you said, like red was in possession and it was pretty reckless of blue. So just put it on the players and penalize it.
So what are you going to do? Penalty, Haley?
Yeah, I'd probably just go penalty only unless the AR saw something else and recommended a yellow card.
I did penalty for that. And I feel like San Diego kind of rolled their eyes a little bit. But I was like, I also feel like if I would have just played, accidental collision, like shit would have gotten real. Like they would have gotten mad at each other. I mean, it was already kind of contentious. And if I didn't make that call, so it was very helpful to have Ryan there. So
Cool.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan.
Who else wants to chime in?
Hey, it's Kat. I would have played on.
Okay. Amelia, you on?
Yeah, I'm happy with a penalty there. It looks to me like the blue player runs into the red player before she catches the ball, and maybe
Yeah.
she actually is going for the ball, but she kind of goes like a shoulder check a little bit. And like Michelle said, like if you can nip it in the bud to tell the players you're protecting them, then you're going to avoid a lot of problems going forward.
Yeah. I can see
And
both sides. I could see playing the man. Go ahead, Bob.
yeah, that's what I'm trying to see. I think blue initiates contact in this case, and it's like red is ready to accept the pass. Blue comes up. It's almost like she's surprised to see red there, and it's like this bang. And I would give the onus on that blue is just not aware
Yeah.
of that player at all, and
It's really
just
awkward.
and runs right into a wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's careless, not reckless, but still
Careless.
that's a penalty. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we'll do the off feet. So they're coming in with a lot of power, and so I didn't know if it was just too much power. You can go ahead and play it. It's kind of similar to the clip from last week with Cat's game, or was that 2 weeks ago? The Glendale.
Yeah, I remember that one. A little bit different because there was more defense in the Cats situation.
And like you can see the red player kind of like throw her arms like, what? Like that wasn't off her feet.
I think that you're totally right just to play on here because she comes in, I mean, yeah, kind of not under control, you could say, but like she gets her job done, which is cleaning out that player.
Yeah.
I
She's
agree.
coming in to clean them out, whether she comes in not really going to hold her own feet. I mean, she's done her job.
Yeah, our checkbox is loses her feet in the action of removing the defender, right? So
Yeah.
we're good. Play on.
Okay.
I agree.
Unless we think she entered dangerously, which looks okay.
She had a big burst of power there.
Yeah.
Good no call, Michelle. Good job.
She made contact first and then went down.
Mm-hmm.
So that her drive was contact. And if the defender had been in a stronger position, she wouldn't have gone down.
True.
Yep. Okay. Sounds
then-
like we're mostly happy.
My last clip was just kind of funny.
Yeah, this was wild.
They didn't show the actual try being scored. I mean, yes, it was a great play, like totally agreed, but it was just like, and boop.
I'm guessing somebody was editing and they just.
No, actually, they switched cameras.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you watch the play coming after this, you will see the actual elevated camera in place where they had to take it down or move it around.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They had two cameras that they were going from, so I don't know, but it was just funny. That was just a little comic relief for today.
Thank you. Anything else?
No, I just have some things to work on for this week.
Yeah, it's your first 15s in a while, right?
Yes.
Cool. Success.
Yay.
Good. Good to have you back.
Thanks. Good to be back.
Let's see who wants to go next. Amelia?
Sure. So I had New York against Chicago, and this is the first time Chicago has gone to New York in a regular season match, as far as I know. So we had a little hiccup 30 minutes into the first half. We had to switch fields because of a permit issue. And that was kind of unfortunate because I think it threw off the game for a lot of us, including me. But this week, last week, Olivia and I talked about changing my positioning a little bit, focusing on which side the ball is going to land on when the player is tackled. And I spent a lot of time trying to like think about that and doing that in the game. And I felt like my positioning was better. Something I struggled with, like Michelle said, some of the things that you mentioned at the beginning of the call are things that I also struggled with, scrums and advantage being two of those. And we had several foul play penalties, 5 dangerous tackles, 1 against New York, 4 against Chicago. And I, similar to, I think, one of Kat's clips that she's gonna talk about, I played advantage off foul play instead of just giving a quick penalty. And that's something I really need to work on because now I've done that the last 2 weeks.
Okay. And all of your foul play penalties, all the high tackles on review were absolutely dangerous tackles and should have been called.
Okay, thanks. I
Sorry.
should have escalated, but yeah.
Okay. I was just wondering. Yeah.
Yes, they were. Oh, I thought you were saying that as a
Nope.
statement. No, they definitely were dangerous tackles.
Okay.
And I felt like I missed some last week that I think I didn't, and I didn't really miss any upon review this week. So
Yeah.
that might be.
Okay. One of the coaches had contacted me and asked me if I thought we were having more dangerous tackles this year than we had had in previous years. And I don't think so. So it's an interesting thing to think about, I guess.
Well, I think the standard is a little bit higher now because of the new World Rugby guidelines.
I agree. And I also think that the players overall are tackling lower and better than they have in previous years. So
I would say overall from the 4 teams I've seen, but Chicago was awful.
yeah, okay. Not to pull any punches. Which clips do you have today? If you're ready to move on. Sorry, didn't mean to rush you.
I'm ready. Let's do is a ball carrier not releasing play on or PK.
Okay.
So this we talked about last year a little bit in the WPL group. So if you were here, you might remember. So the white ball carrier is coming in from the right to the left. She's going to get tackled and she'll make a roll, an extra roll after she's tackled. And like, do we think this is a penalty or is it a play on?
Okay. I'll slow that down for you. There's the tackle, there's the roll. Might have missed the roll just a little bit.
It happened so quick.
Yeah. So there's a tackle. So there's a person there to poach.
Yeah, I think that her actions prevented the contest.
Yeah, by the time she finishes the roll, then her support has arrived.
Mm-hmm.
But before that, it seems to me that she knows she's isolated enough that if she can get the roll done, then she's preventing the poach.
Yeah, I think she might take the legs out of the poacher. It's hard to tell though. Thoughts? Who's playing through?
I'm gonna play on. I think she's using that momentum to make that extra move. She hits the ground, and I don't think she stops. and then rolls. So I would play on here.
Okay. Who's given a penalty?
I would penalize that because it's not fair.
Okay, 1 and 1.
What are they doing at the international level? Women's international level for these?
I haven't seen any of this at the women's international level.
It's been a while, but you can do the little dance thing with your hands. The traveling. No, it's basketball traveling. You can do that signal. And everybody knows. They're like, oh, okay, yeah, okay, I can't take an extra roll. They're usually pretty cheeky about it. And they're like, yeah, okay, you caught me. If you call that. I called it in the B game that I did after the one. So
I also saw Katana Howard do it like 4 times in the Amazons game, number 10 for the Amazons last week. And I talked to her about it and she just smirked at me and then didn't do it again. So I'm seeing it now as like a trend. I've seen at least 2 teams do it. So I felt like we might want to decide as a group how we feel about it.
Yeah, there was one in Cat's match too, where the players tackled only by one ankle, but I would still have called it a completed tackle. And she then gets up and launches herself another bit of space, which sort of goes along with this. So I say we stamp it out and we penalize that.
Okay.
Arguments?
I just I think that there are definitely moments where it's like it's mostly people who do it poorly, but when it's an option given to a player as like the placement of a ball, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's so smooth. I mean, like, I'm not going to say that poacher was 100% going to get that ball, and the only reason she did not get that ball was because that player moved. I mean, I think the white support is there, going to clean her out. I mean, hey, I'll be wrong. I'll penalize it if we want to.
I agree with Kat. I think that as long as it's done in a fluid motion, then I feel okay about it. If they land, settle, and then roll over, then that's a different story for me.
This one pings for me because there's 1 or 2 green defenders who can no longer ruck because they get taken out and fall over there.
it's just not fair, basically.
So
she knows what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing.
I feel like if they had stayed,
3 or 4 other players offside too.
well, that's true. She moves the gate. Is that what you're saying, Peter? So.
Yeah, you got defense saying, all right, there's tackle's going to happen here.
Mm-hmm.
Then all of a sudden that tackle is 2 meters down the field. They've got to come all the way back, dance around again.
Continue to retreat. Okay, so what we've figured out here is this is probably a borderline call for our group. And I think the way that we need to fall is a little bit to the conservative side. Does that make sense to everybody?
If no one is opposed, I would like to go through your games and try to clip a bunch of instances, and then maybe you can
vote, like
figure it out, or vote
like
on
we did last year.
Yeah, if people are okay with that, I'd pull that on.
Yeah, I think finding a scale and figuring out where that line is.
Sure. This one may be right on the line for some of us, and that's okay because that's sort of how refereeing is. But when we calibrate, it's important to know where you fall on the scale. So when you get in that situation, you know, oh yeah, this is the one that doesn't really look like it to me, but I should do because that's what the group agrees. So I'll make a folder and we'll drop these in there as we see them. And then if you guys remember, you have the ability to vote, play on, PK, yellow card, that kind of stuff. So I'll do that tomorrow. And then you can help me by populating it because I've really only seen the 2.
I can try to look for one from last week as well.
Yeah, I can go back to the Zons game too. Or I can go back to my notes too. Sometimes I make notes and I forget about them because that's what happens. What's next?
The next one is a deliberate knock on. So live, I just said this was a regular knock on, but then watching the video, you can see there's like sorry about the noise in the background.
It's okay.
There's 2 players outside for green, and the one New York player. She's the one on the rightmost that's going to make the knock on.
Okay. So there it was.
Yeah, so she's kind of in there, like almost about to make a tackle, and she just puts her, like, flails her arms in a little bit. To me, it looked like, I don't know, she could have caught it. She was in a realistic position to catch it, but then she doesn't. So that's her risk, I think, and that should be a penalty, or maybe more.
Consider field position.
Right, and who's there? I mean, if that 11 is quick, that's a try. But at the time, I didn't realize that there wasn't another defender there. So
Okay. Who has something to add? Brilliance. Amelia, what would you do next time?
I think I just need to be a little bit more stringent on what I'm considering to be a deliberate knock on in general. Because again, last week I had one that I was like, oh, it's just a knock on. Sorry.
That's okay. It's fine.
So I think in general, like if I think it might be deliberate, it's deliberate, and it just needs to be penalized, because if we penalize that now, then by the time we get to the end of the season, it's going to be a lot cleaner.
Yeah, I think we will set a better standard and have a better product if we are considering these deliberate.
Yeah, and I think the way Olivia described it to me was good. She said the players want to be treated professionally, so if they commit a professional foul, then just call it what it is.
Yeah. Don't have the empathy.
Yeah.
Anybody else have thoughts on this? Are we good? Okay. Is that all for you?
Yeah, those are my only clips.
Okay. Bob, did you want to do this one?
Sure, it's playing back to the last 3 weeks I've seen, and I know I've been talking to David and the guys is talking about scrums, and it's about setting that early standard, no matter how minor or how little this is. So if you watch this clip, it's so minor. However, go ahead and run it.
Let me get the volume off.
Yeah.
There we go.
So you see the scrum, and so it looks real minor. You think, oh, that's okay. But if you look at the side where Amelia was putting in, you can start seeing it starting to go up a little. This is the first scrum at 1 minute and 20 seconds. This is the time to get what you want in reference to these scrums. If you don't do it, it's going to lead. And in Amelia's case, by the 4th scrum, that side was up in the air. Right, it just escalated, and here was a great opportunity. I'm like, no, let's stop. Let's get this straight here. I mean, that is so minor, but that's where it starts. It always starts at that first scrum, and really setting that early standard and getting what you want, and making sure, and if you have to, slow down that cadence, do whatever it takes.
Yep. Yeah, I think this would be a good one. Maybe you play away from this one, but then at the next one you say, hey, you're driving up, let's keep it straight.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's see. Who's my last referee? It is Kat Roche. Oh, Amelia, I'm sorry. Are you finished?
Yes, I'm finished.
Okay, awesome. Kat?
Hello.
Hi.
Hey. I'll keep this nice and short.
Perfect.
Went up to Minnesota and some rugby happened. It was pretty. I'm not gonna lie, it was not the most exciting. I mean, it was exciting. It just wasn't that challenging. And 2 of those penalties I called in the second half were just wrong calls. So probably even take 2 of them off. Just wasn't that much. Yeah. The one thing I do want to say is going into this game, I really wanted to focus on the setup of the lineouts and the scrums. So one thing that did work for me is I went to the front rows, and in the front row chat, I said, hey, I'm not looking to reset a lot today. I'm looking to free kick and penalize. So first couple of scrums is where we're going to figure out that we can do it, and we're going to solve all the problems. And for the rest of the game, if it's not going well, just expect free kicks or penalties. And the front rows were kind of like, oh, okay. And then we had no scrum problems. So whether they were going to do that anyway or not, it worked pretty easily. So probably we'll take that forward.
Cool.
Yeah. I mean, we can look at the deliberate knock-on first.
Okay.
I was going to say that to the end, but I have no idea what else is in there. So
Yeah, I didn't click on the folder, so that wasn't helping you any.
It's all right. So one of the things that Greg likes to make fun of me for, love you, Greg, but he does, is I talk too long to ARs and team captains when I'm talking. So here's a situation, and you can actually put it on mute and just play out because it's like a minute long.
Okay.
So they pick and go. There's a deliberate knock on. It's not going to be anything more than a penalty, but my AR doesn't actually know what a deliberate knock on is. So I think I'm going to, like, the players are freaking out because they've all seen it. So I think I'm going to have a quick chat with the AR. And at this point, I realize he doesn't actually know what's going on. And I hear Greg in my head saying, you're talking too long. So I'm trying to, like, get to the point. And then when this finally ends, this is like, he doesn't actually know what it is. So I just explain it. I feel like I can get the message across. I make it really clear to everyone that's on the sideline because everyone's like, what's going on? And be like, okay, time back on, it's a penalty. It was a deliberate knockdown. Happy days.
Okay.
So yeah, something I'm working on even in the face of challenges.
For having to explain what a deliberate knock-on was, that was a pretty short chat.
Man, it was hard. He's like, well, it came off of black. And I was like, okay, so this is what it was.
Well, real quick helps you figure out how competent your AR is.
Yeah, I mean, they really did help me out a bit. I had them on radio, but yeah, that was not awesome. Advantage off foul play. This, I can't even almost say this is advantage. I might say advantage. I don't think I say advantage, but I know we don't want to play advantage off of foul play, but Atlanta was just on such a front foot here that I kind of gave it that half second to see what would happen, and then White counter-rucks. I'm like, well, that's not going to happen.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, that was high.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's.
Yeah, that's ouch.
I mean, maybe that can be the conversation. Do you guys think that's worth a card?
It's not just that it's a card, but it's also a momentum killing kind of thing. Because yeah, you're about to get inside the 22, so it's not just foul. It's also they're under pressure. She knows what she's doing, and she's being reckless about it.
And did I see it was contact with the neck and head? Right. It's hard to see. Yeah, is that her neck turning because or is
Might
she
be.
turning or is she turning her head away because she sees the arm? I mean,
I definitely thought it was over the shoulder. I think she gets the hand that pulls her back over the shoulder.
okay.
And I think it's one of those, like, depending on what angle you look at, it looks like it could be like death versus an over the shoulder tackle.
Okay. So the first question is, was it acceptable to play that short advantage here? I guess. Does anybody?
I'm not even sure that counts as an advantage.
Yeah.
That's assessing the situation to see if you're going to think.
Yeah. And I think it's well done because there is a chance that Atlanta would have continued there. So
turned over instantly, then you say, all right,
Yep.
now we're an advantage.
And she does pretty quickly turn it off or get it blown.
Yeah. As far as what the tackle is, that's an open field tackle. That tackler had time to see and judge and make a decision. So that wasn't just like an instinctive or accidental.
So then you're leaning towards a yellow card here, Peter?
Towards a yellow card for that.
Yeah, me too.
If that had happened in a crowd, maybe not. But she certainly had time to think and to see and think.
Yeah, I can buy that. Aggravating factor, open field tackle, absolutely.
Yeah, she seemed like it was like last line of defense almost.
And she knew what she was doing. She was killing Atlanta's momentum.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like one of my teachers once said to me, by doing a tackle like that, you're telling me you don't think you could stop her any other way. You just made a statement that you didn't think that you could stop her. So, okay, yeah, I'll buy that. Look where we are. Look what the tactical situation is. There's the card.
Okay.
Yeah, I think for me it would just be growing some balls because that was the first minute of the match, and I think I am afraid to do that with something that I'm not that, completely 100% like, yep, easy yellow. I think it's hard for me to talk myself up to a yellow at the first minute.
I had seen a yellow card given off the opening kickoff.
Yeah, I mean, like, I understand. For me, I just don't think that call was, like, the most clear and obvious. Like, clear and obvious yellow, but I could be wrong. Oh, I had another clip, but we don't have to watch it.
Oh, did you? I didn't see it.
Yeah, it's all right.
My bad. No, I want to watch it.
Oh,
yeah, this one.
So I think I would like to say we can all, I would pose it as we can accept that this is a play on, or I think this is a play on. Maybe that's a better way to say it. But at what point does this not become a play on and becomes material?
Yep. Let's watch it. So there's your ruck. Here's your takeout, number 3. And that's that. Everybody see it? It's 3 for the Quins going in. Just going to clear the player beyond the breakdown.
I'd be happy to play on there and just maybe say to the player, hey, use a little more control next time, because it's not dangerous, and she's just stronger. So I would play on too, I think.
Yeah, I think the question is at like what point does it become material enough? Like what if there wasn't that white player there and she had taken that gap? I mean, would it still be material or would it still not be material? I think I'm thinking
Yeah.
like a
If this player had run this line and made this break, that to me is when it becomes material. Does the silence mean that nobody agrees with me, or does the silence mean we're happy with that thought, or?
We're contemplating.
Still processing.
I agree with you, Amanda.
Okay. Yeah.
At what
ahead.
point in the match is this? Early on in the match?
41 minutes on the time clock of
So
the
it's-
video.
It's the beginning of the second half.
Probably the end of
It
the
would be
End of the first half,
first.
middle of the pitch.
end of the first.
At that point in the field, no real materiality. 2 meters from the goal line, that becomes
Different story.
quicker.
Yeah, and I think this was just to put like a little nugget inside your heads. Haunt your
Yeah.
dreams tonight. Be like, oh, how far does it have to go to be material?
Yep, and we have to start thinking about it because we are seeing more and more of these clear outs in women's rugby when we didn't see them 2 years ago. So good clip, good catch. Everybody happy?
That was my last clip.
Okay. Anything else?
No, thank you.
Thank you. All right, this is what we've got coming up this week. Amelia is going to get Life West and all of those fun scrums. Can't wait to watch those. Haley, that should be a good match as well. Julianne coming down from Canada. And then Michelle O'Brien coming over to the Amazons. And we're praying for good flights again and no interruption from hurricanes. So. And while we're celebrating success, congratulations to Julianne on her selection to the Super Series. The 7 Series, sorry. Yay.
Aw, thanks, guys.
Rats.
We're so proud of you.
I'm super excited, and hopefully I'll be getting to meet some of you guys in person in Glendale.
Yeah, that's true. That's coming up. So that's all I've got. So thank you all very much for being here. And if you've been on 3 calls, you're a rugby saint. Anything else anybody has?
Good night.
Good night, all.
Good night.
Down for that hurricane.
Yeah, I know.
Thanks all.
Thank you. Bye.